During this episode, we talk about some heavy topics, including suicide and grief. Should you need resources, please text HOME, HOME, to 741-741.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to season 5 of More or Less, coming to you from Los Angeles. We are so excited that we recorded most of this season out on the West Coast. First up today, we have Bishop Briggs joining us. She talks all about motherhood, grief, and really holds nothing back. She's currently co-headlining with MisterWives on a North American tour. You do not want to miss this show, and I am so excited for you all to hear this conversation, more or less. These days, we can all use more energy, and Mind Plus Beauty's wellness facial oils will give you the energy boost you need. So whether you're heading off to exercise, going for a run, or just having a busy day, simply add the Beauty of Energy oil to your face and experience more gain, less pain. It's the all-natural way to enhance your energy level, and it's made for everyone. Good for your face and good for you. Available with free shipping at mindplusbeauty.com. That's mind, P-L-U-S, beauty.com. Bishop, welcome to the show. Welcome to More or Less.
Thank you so much.
How are you feeling today?
Oh my gosh, I am so excited. I was telling you, I have binged your podcast and I just think what you're doing is really important. And so it's an honor to be here.
Thank you. And the follow-up, as you probably know, is what do you need more of and what do you need less of?
Ooh, okay. I need more of, I need more breathing time. Yeah, just taking a breath is a thing.
I have this tattooed on me. For anyone watching, I have a breathe tattoo on my wrist.
Okay, but when you're stressed, do you feel like you go, let me look at the tattoo?
No.
Same. Because I have so many tattoos that was my intention where I was like, oh, I'm going to look at the tattoo in a moment of stress.
Absolutely.
And it's like, oh, okay.
The intention was there.
The intention is there.
Absolutely.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's cute, it looks good.
Yes.
But I joke that it's like, oh, in case I forget.
Right.
It's right there.
No, I love that. Okay.
So
more
breathing.
More breathing.
Okay.
Just like deep breaths need to do more of. And then less. Ooh, I need, this is sad but true. I need less Desperate Housewives. Been deep dive into Desperate Housewives. I know that this is sort of like a light answer. I can give a heavier answer.
I would like to explore that. Continue.
I can give a heavier answer, but I've been getting really into Wisteria Lane and like I've been sort of looking over my shoulder, like not knowing what to expect. And so on the way here, I saw this cat meowing and I just inserted myself into the situation, started banging on the door. And I feel like I've maybe been watching a lot of the show where the characters insert themselves into situations. But I would do that regardless. If it's a cat that's meowing, I need to.
It's your nature.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Maybe I should give something. Maybe I could give a little heavier of an answer.
I do really like that answer, but this is your time to shine.
Okay. I need less negative self-talk. I remember when I first was pregnant, my doula at the time told me that you birth the baby and then you birth mom guilt. Huh. And I think it's really true. I mean, there's guilt that we carry as women, and then you become a mom, and then there's that guilt. And then there's guilt as, a creative person. There's all sorts of things. So I would love to release that. Yeah. That negative self-talk.
Are you finding that it's like bottling up or manifesting physically?
I think the main way that it manifests is by not breathing. Yeah, and sort of noticing like a deep inhale all of a sudden. And I think that's something that, that I want to prioritize more if I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does a day in the life for Bishop look like? Because I can only imagine.
Well, it's when my son naps, it's deep in music land. And on certain days I have sessions, and so I'll be gone and my husband will be with the baby. And then when it's days where that isn't happening, I'm going on adventures with my son. And so it really is, that's sort of what the day-to-day is looking like. It's truly huge contrast. Like I tried documenting a day in my life and it was so bizarre. Like it was like the morning started in IKEA. And then it was like with a producer I admired,
Yeah.
And then like even right before this, it was like going to a garden with my son. And then, but you know, like that's the duality of like being a woman. You know, I feel like before this, I had so many contrasts. Like I used to live down the road from here.
Yeah.
And I would go to Rite Aid in my slippers and pajamas. And then I would, you know, go to music school. And this sounds like an unhinged person.
No,
Yes.
like you said, it's the duality
Yeah.
of life and
Yeah.
and being able to adapt as that happens.
Yeah.
What has been the biggest shift in your mindset since having your son?
The biggest shift has been the motivation to continue living. I think that was a big, even when I became pregnant, that was like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, okay, I have something bigger going on. And I'm not a religious person. And so I think having something like this, it really alters your sense of self. And yeah, you're living for someone else. You know, you're wanting, like now I want to be able to be alive to, you know, see him at his soccer game if he wants to do soccer, if he wants to do ballet, whatever he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was a big shift because I was in a really dark place before I got pregnant, and I found it extremely difficult to see a future. And so yeah, so I would say that's the biggest mental shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it like seeing the world through his eyes instead of yours?
Oh, that is a thing. That is a
Yeah.
true thing. And it's so fun. Yeah, because you see a big tree and you're like, we could do crazy things, you know, like the tree is huge, like, you know, because you look at it from their perspective.
And there's that innocence. That,
Yes.
like childlike innocence.
Yes, yes.
I'm curious, what were you like as a child? And what are some traits that you are hoping that your son got from you?
Well, I found out from a family friend actually this morning that I was a bit timid and shy. And then when there was a stage or some sort of audience, I was...
Yep, that was it.
Yeah, I was shining bright. So that was, yeah, I think, I honestly, just what we were talking about, like with that duality, I've always felt that with how I am on tour or with work. Like if I was who I am on stage, 100% of the time I would be so sleepy because that person is like a wild beast. Like it's just high energy, vulnerability, like completely out there. And yeah, and when I come off stage, I hang with my crew, I eat my little curry, I take off my makeup, and it's really just, I don't know if you're into astrology.
I'm not, but I'm very interested by people that are, because I don't know much about it.
Okay, well, anyone that's interested in astrology, this would tell you a lot, which is my sign is Cancer, but my rising is Leo. So they say like your rising is like how you present to the world, like, or how you are at work. And so Leo is like this lion, and then Cancers are like chill. Well,
Like
I won't
mellowy?
go as far as saying chill, but like home buddy, like family vibes, close friends.
So if I'm a Pisces, what does that mean?
Oh my gosh. Okay, one of my signs is Pisces. I don't know which one it is, but it means that you have a lot of emotion that you're carrying. And that's like the biggest thing that I know about Pisces. Yeah.
The emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well. And I think as I've gotten older, I understand it a bit more. Or I'm like, oh yeah, I am like very much an empath, and I feel a lot of things in my intuition and my gut. So I do believe in it. I absolutely believe in it. I don't know all the nitty gritty, like rising, falling.
Well, yeah, rising, falling. I'm sure you know this too. I feel like I suppressed a lot of my emotion just being a woman in work and in business. And so it took me a long time to acknowledge that I was an emotional person, and understand that if I'm around people that aren't sexist, they don't treat me differently because I'm having a tough day or I'm emotionally going through a lot, you know. That doesn't necessarily affect my work, you know.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that's part of what you're describing too, of like as you got older.
Yeah. Yeah, I, as a kid, definitely suppressed my emotions. I bottled up everything, and then I would just explode, or I'd reach a point of burnout, and it was a
Yes.
spiral, and the pattern was just keep going into this cyclical spiral. I find when I work, I am really tough, but I'm tough on myself, and I
Yes.
have this very strong exterior, but I do think I have a strong sense of self. It's just I have learned to compartmentalize my emotions where it becomes a bit of a mask and it's not healthy.
Yes.
But yeah, I would believe that the Pisces energy plays into that.
Yeah.
Totally. So in other terms, do you consider yourself more introverted or more extroverted? Yeah. Loaded question.
I'm extroverted.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I love alone time and, playing Sims and journaling, and I love those things. But yeah, I think that's why tour works well for me, is because I love a bit of banter. And I also feel like as I've gotten older too, I've gotten better at setting boundaries of like, oh, I don't have it in me to go out. So I think as I've set firmer boundaries, I've understood like I'm not necessarily an introvert. It just means
It's just
like,
a boundary.
yeah. Like I like to just recharge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I would say extrovert. Yeah. Took me a long time to realize that. What are
Yeah.
you?
I call myself a introverted extrovert.
Oh my
Or
God.
vice
I
versa,
wanted to
extrovert.
say that.
So, I feel like I just had this conversation with somebody else on the show, but
Okay.
yeah, like we talk about it a lot, I feel like here. But I consider myself a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
I think it depends on the day, it depends on my mood,
Yes.
it depends
Also,
what's going on.
There are people that are vampires,
I believe in that too.
right? They
I'm with
drain
you.
your energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That people are takers and not
Right.
givers.
Some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's the business that we're in, most people are extroverted. I'm curious in your social circle even, do you find yourself gravitating towards introverted people because you're an extrovert?
Okay. That is a great question.
Yeah.
I had a birthday a few years ago, and I realized like a lot of my close girlfriends are kind of in separate groups. Like I love like a good like one-on-one hang. And anyways, I was like, why don't we all meet up at the park? Like you guys need to all know each other. And I learned that day that 5 of my closest friends are extremely introverted.
And we're all really shy.
And yes, and then one of them is extroverted. So the extroverted one, who's also a musician, spoke the entire time. And then, because there's something I love about introverted people that like you get them to warm up and then they're like so extroverted, but when you're together.
But that's why you like them one-on-one.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense.
But I was like, oh, interesting. I think but I think there's something like when I'm in my downtime time frame, I like to do very chill, quiet things. So maybe that's why. I don't know.
I want to go back to a little bit in terms of boundaries. When you were starting your career, what boundaries were in place or lack thereof?
I think I found it easier when it came to very stereotypical instances. So like if a producer I was working with is doing drugs or any sort of substance that I feel uncomfortable with, historically in movies we see this. That's the bad guy. It was like, okay, I'm done. Like that's going to be no. I found it really hard before the Me Too movement to understand that it was inappropriate the way men acted. So even the other day, I was in a room with a group of people and we were talking about someone in the industry, and I thankfully they've been outed and in terms of being a predator, but I voiced that I knew a lot of people and I knew a lot of inappropriate things that he had said, and but that was sort of where it stayed. And then this other person in the room said, oh yeah, he touched my girlfriend's knee. He said this, this, and this. He brought up this. And I was like, oh, he did all that to me. Like I didn't even, but at the time it was before the Me Too movement. So I was like, no, this is just how men in power are. And you have to like, you know, play the game. And that was where I found, I don't know. It like really breaks my heart because I was a baby when I think of that. But I thought that that's how it wasn't my idea. It was our idea, that sort of mentality. And obviously that gets darker and darker, like, you know, the more you unpack it. So sorry, I don't know where we began.
No,
boundaries.
Boundaries, yeah, but I hear you in the fact that the lines get so blurry and people are taken advantage of, especially in the name of building your career, and music is something you're passionate about. And the power dynamics are so, forgive my French, they're fucked.
And also I didn't know that I had power. That was the thing. I didn't know that I was the boss. And that was a big, I think a big part of boundary setting, if I was to sort of go into it, was I would do a lot of like, keep your head down and work. That was sort of the energy. So like there could be all sorts of inappropriate things happening, but it was like, this is my goal. This is my dream. I'm going to keep going. This is just how men are. And yeah, so I'm really, really grateful for the Me Too movement because it really opened my eyes to what was going on.
Yeah. How do you incorporate work-life balance now, given that you're a mom and, you know, talking about boundaries, like what does that look like now? I'm sure completely different than it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah. I believe balance is a myth.
Okay.
And
Tell me about that.
Well, I just think it's a thing to make people feel bad. Like before I had a baby, I didn't have balance. You know what I mean? Because we're humans and we're messy and like, and I have you seen those compilations where like they only ask the women, like, how do you manage, you know, what's your work-life balance? And then they don't ask the dads.
No.
I'm like, what about the dads? Nope. But I will say, huge thing is working. So like my management team, one of the main people that I work with is a woman, and that is everything. You know, that's, I just, by the way, there are women that you can work with that aren't like that at all. This happens to be someone that has a lot of friends that have babies. Just a side note. But also someone that's really good at what they do. She's here. I'm just pretending she's over there. But sorry, my point in saying that is that's one less hoop that I have to go through. I don't have to double down and explain why, like, I'd love to be there for bath time. You know, like, of course I want to be there for bath time, you know, and we can't always make it work. But that's something I really appreciate with who I'm surrounded with is they know that my priorities are being a great mom and being a great musician, you know? So I don't think balance is real. I don't know.
But you can have both. Like, and you're winning at that and you're mastering it, at least from the outside.
Thank you.
Your lack of the word balance, but you're able to succeed at both and be really great at both of it, I can imagine.
Thank you.
So I think you were such a badass. For those that are listening, you also performed at Coachella while you were pregnant. Like,
yes.
So badass.
Thank you.
I mean, would you do that again?
No. I'm just kidding.
Totally.
No, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
You know, like I know how I am, and there's definitely like that workaholic energy in me, and more than that, it's like creative like energy in me that I can't say never, because I know that no matter what, like I love to perform. And yeah, but it was a crazy experience. I was eating so much beforehand, and I caused everyone a heart attack because I didn't drink any water on stage, which I don't normally do, but while being pregnant was a choice.
And how long was the set?
It was 45 minutes. Oh, it was an hour.
And no water in an hour?
No. But I drank a lot before, and I envisioned the water.
Oh,
I drank a lot of water after, but it was a crazy experience.
Wait, are you into visualization? Is that like a thing you're into?
I am into it. Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. But not when it comes to water.
But yeah.
I do have to actually drink water. That's one that I'm like,
for those listening and watching, go drink water. You probably need more of
exactly,
it. We don't do that enough.
Yeah.
Reminder, drink water. I just bought one of those bottles. I have it with me. It's like the time of day.
Oh.
And you have to do the whole... I'm doing pretty good at it. I don't...
You can do it. Do you have that one?
Yeah. I love a good affirmation.
Me too.
Words of encouragement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You also got COVID.
Thank you, Sam. Sam's here in the audience reminding us that Bishop got COVID.
Yeah.
Before or after?
So it was after.
I'm going to blame it on the no water.
Really? You're not going to blame it on the festival? I'm just kidding. I am kidding. No, it was unfortunate, but it's all good.
Did anyone else you know got it? Or,
yeah, like a lot of other artists got it.
Oh.
I know.
I didn't hear about that. I'm not in the Coachella loop, but
I
did not hear about this.
Yeah. So it was...
And you were pregnant still?
I was pregnant. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that sucks. Yeah, you probably shouldn't do it again.
Well, if Coachella is listening, I want to play it again.
Bishop will absolutely do
I want to
Coachella
headline.
again.
I want to play it. But it was a bit of an experience while pregnant. That's all.
What is next in terms of bucket list for you? Like, what are things you want to achieve?
Ooh, I have very big dreams.
Yeah, I want to know.
I would say the biggest dream I have is walking out on stage and my baby has those headphones on and everyone is in the crowd is singing and smiling and the baby is smiling and I'm smiling and I look over and I see my husband side stage like filming and like
I love that.
There's something,
That's
I've
so
always
pure.
Yeah, there's something that I love about that.
That's the top bucket list. Right?
Yeah, because it means like you're connecting with the people in front of you. Like that's like first and foremost, like that connection and safety. And then I don't feel balance exists at all. But in that moment, in that, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, it does.
Your worlds collide.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for this upcoming tour, will baby be on the road at all?
Baby is going to be on the road, but baby will be sleeping during the set.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the moment won't come yet.
Yeah.
But in due time.
Hope so.
Do you feel like your health needs to be scheduled into your day? Our morning coffee, our supplements, our skincare, we're limited on the products that help us maintain a balanced lifestyle in an easy, healthy, and convenient way. So our friends at Neuro Gum Mints did exactly that with their nootropic blends that enhance your health and wellness into something intrinsically convenient, affordable, and portable. We at More or Less have loved these energy and focus mints with a patented formula of B vitamins, L-theanine, and natural caffeine to give us the energy and mental endurance necessary to stay focused and energized without the crash or jitters. I've been hyping up Neuro for quite some time, so I'm super excited to partner with them for another season of More or Less. If you'd like Neuro by your side too, use the link in our description and use code MOREORLESS for 10% off your first purchase of Neuro Gum Mints. Tell me about this tour. It's a co-headline tour.
Mm-hmm.
That is very exciting.
With MisterWives.
Love MisterWives.
Me too.
Mandy's so cool. I've never met Mandy, but
she is the coolest.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's very cool. It feels great. I mean, doing a tour that is full of empowering women is always the dream and the goal. So I hope that people leave the show feeling empowered. That's really my goal.
What makes you feel empowered?
Ooh.
I'll turn the table real quick.
Okay. It can vary, but like on one end of it, it would be like singing into a microphone with like a touch of reverb. I feel empowered. Yeah, just a touch. I feel empowered. I really do. Like I feel just so spiritually aligned and connected with like my life's purpose. And then the other side would be seeing like a really happy baby. Like seeing my son really happy. Like makes me feel empowered. Like that I'm trusting my gut, because that's everything that parenting is. You're trusting your gut, and if there was any advice I would give, it's to not listen to anyone else. Like if something in your gut doesn't feel right, because every baby's different. Not everything fits one little baby.
I was talking the other day to my partner about like you can never you never tell someone how to parent. Like you can never.
People try.
Yeah, people do. I am not in your position. I do not have any children, but I have seen it. I've seen when people give like unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
Has that happened to you? Yeah.
Yeah, but I always, like, just what we were talking about, like at the beginning of all this with like taking a deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I always think of like, what is the intention behind it? And the intention isn't to harm my child or me.
Right.
You know what I mean? The intention
Right.
is like to give positive advice, or this is something they saw that was life-changing with their child or whatever. So I think I do a good job at just sort of, making, I will say my husband is the complete opposite to me.
Oh, really?
Yes. He's not pleased with any of these, but that's why I love him,
Yeah.
But he sort of fights those battles, and I feel like I can like see other side, I see the other perspective.
People can't help themselves. Like
Yes.
I think some people just
Yes.
can't help but
Yes.
spew whatever
Yes.
whatever comes to mind.
Totally.
But I think a lot of the times it's likely unwarranted and,
Yes.
and not something you were looking for. Did
Yeah.
you find that when you were pregnant too? Like people were giving you pregnancy advice?
Yeah.
Never ends.
Pardon?
It never ends.
Yeah. I think the one thing that I do want to focus my energy on is like the women talking. Like I love that part of it. Where women are like, I was really depressed after I had my baby. It's like, this is what we need to be sharing, and even if I didn't have that, we need to talk about it. And so I can tell my other mom friends, like even in the, little Mummy and Me friend group I have, completely contrasting, experiences. And yeah, I think it's important to share and talk, but it's difficult when it's other generations.
Yeah.
Because you're like, guys, like we've all done therapy. We're scared. We're scared about how we were raised,
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Ooh, that makes me nervous for that chapter in my life.
Why?
Because there is a generational gap in terms of that. Like, and you also add like social media on top of things. I think about, I have little cousins, and when we used to go out to dinner, like they would be sitting there with an iPad, like at the dinner table. And I'm like, oh my God, like if I'm a parent, like is that gonna have, like, are my kids gonna want like AI VR glasses, like while we're out to dinner? Like, is that a thing? So that's what I'm thinking about. And it's like, then the advice and noise on top of that, like that's kind of scary.
But I think first of all, we don't know what the setup is of the iPad. Maybe the parents haven't, spoken, for a whole week, and this is maybe just 20 minutes where they get to just exchange words and go over their weeks, and that allows them to be better parents. It's like there's all sorts of like ways we can look at it. But I will say you're going to be so good because if you want, like,
Who knows?
Who knows? I agree. Who knows? But if you did, I feel like you're going to ask them how they feel. Like that was a big thing that I feel like I was missing in my childhood, just really being like, it's okay to share your feelings and there's nothing to be ashamed of. That's that. If you have that, which you already have the podcast, like,
we're checking that off.
Bring the babies on the podcast. Like you're gonna, like even just like starting their week and being like, what do you, need more of? What do you need less of? Like that would be life-changing.
I think open dialogue is so important.
Right?
And not only in like parent to child, but friendships, like in the workplace. Open dialogue just makes all the difference.
Yes.
I was just talking on a panel before about advocating for yourself in the workplace, and a lot of the responses were around like reminding yourself that you're human and reminding your coworkers that they're human, because we live and work in an industry where it's not necessarily human first. We would like it to be,
yes,
but it is product first.
Yeah.
And there are people making the music, there are people working on the music, and there are people with lives outside of it. And all of that gets blurred. But I think at the core of it, we were all saying the same thing, which is like, just have an open dialogue, open mind, be open to people, because that is so lacking across the board.
Yes, 100%.
I hope that the next generation of the music industry and even just next generation period is able to feel more comfortable in talking about their feelings and talking about where they're at mentally, because we're losing people to really unfortunate circumstances, and I just wish there was more people in their corner. Yeah.
Well, I will say having a podcast like this does make a difference because, having media that we can consume that has tools. And I will say for me, at my lowest point, which was after my sister passed away, I remember Googling what do I do if I can't stop thinking about suicide? I don't know if I could say that word, but
You can.
what do I like? I remember Googling that,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like my lowest moment. And I was just hoping there would be like some form of media about, I just, for some reason, when you're in it, it's the same as a breakup, honestly,
Yeah.
like obviously not same heaviness, but you feel as though you're the only person that has experienced this particular type of pain. And in some ways you're right. Like you have your own unique relationship, but the first thing I read was talking about the feeling passing and being like, can you give it another day? Can you give it another week? Can you give it,
Yeah.
and it was clearly, I'm here. It was life-giving to just read that, in my moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Ah.
I know it's heavy. It's
Yeah.
heavy, and we do touch on it on the show because it's life. One of the things that I used to tell myself in dark times was just like, this too shall pass. And as I got older, I was like, I don't know if that's the saying I really want to stick with, but it helped me in that moment to know that like this hardship, it's gonna pass.
Right.
The sun's gonna come up again. Like
Right.
coming back to that and just continuing to remind yourself that can really make all the difference.
Yes. That is actually a really great visual. The sun like continues to rise, like not to be cheesy or anything.
It's not cheesy. It is so not cheesy.
It was a huge thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Knowing that the sun is going to continue.
There's a 21 Pilots lyric. I was a big 21 Pilots fan.
So was I.
In high school. Yeah.
So was I.
Great.
Not just in
and
high
there
school,
and there's the song, "The sun will rise and we will try again" is like the lyric in the song, and that actually an old college roommate I think got it tattooed on her. That lyric is so, it just hits.
Yes.
Because you know what they're talking about, and you
Yes.
know that feeling so well.
Yes.
And it's just beautiful that music can bring that to you.
Yeah.
And find the words that you didn't know were there.
Right. I also, I think it's really important to give trigger warnings.
Which we will absolutely do at the beginning of this podcast.
Of course. But I wish that we could say the word too. Like, TikTok has a ban on it, and like,
yeah.
and it's hard because I want there, like, no matter what, of course, have trigger warnings, but it is, I hope that doesn't create something, weird around it. I want to make sure that we can still talk about it.
And not talk around it.
Right.
I think that's the part that is difficult. And I know everyone is at different stages of their journey in terms of how open they are. And you're, of course, incredibly open. And that's why I'm so excited to have you on this show, because you're just such a light in terms of this conversation.
Oh, thank you.
I think a lot of the times we have surface level conversations. I look at podcasts, I look at different media forms, and a lot of it is surface level. And that's kind of the difference with this show and creating this and wanting to get to know the human behind the music and what they were going through. I hope we can get to a place where it's not just surface level, even surface level. I'll go as far as saying like just talking about anxiety and depression.
Right.
Because there are a ton of different mental challenges, schizophrenia, BPD. There are a ton of different challenges that people face that are not as normalized. And people are treated way differently than the depression, anxiety cloud.
100%.
Yeah, that's my soapbox for today, everyone. Thank you for attending my TED Talk.
Really good.
What inspires you to be so open? Was there a moment when you felt like I need to be public in my experience?
No.
No.
So my goal as an artist before all of this was to make others feel less alone in whatever they're experiencing. And so I think when this happened, it was like, it's a difficult one because I just felt very phony continuing however I was online, or continuing, I was, posting pictures, and I was in the hospital with my sister. Like, you know, and it was just, by the way, I wasn't posting pictures of her in the hospital. I mean, like I was posting sort of like typical like music
Like
work
promo
things.
stuff.
Yeah. And I just was like, and I think at that specific time, I wasn't doing promo as much as it was just like uploading like old film photos or, you know, something, but it just didn't feel right. And so then, you know, I felt really protective over my sister and her journey and her experience and her privacy. And in being a part of the music industry, there sort of was this like, I don't know, like this industry can like take everything from you. You know, it can really, yeah, take away your soul and your spirit. And so I felt so protective. And then the doctor told us that they didn't know what else to do. And I asked my sister if she was okay with me posting about it, like asking like for help, like we don't know what to do, like this is where we're at. And seeing the response and the amount of help we got and the amount of people that reached out, I was like, this is the community of love and comfort, and it makes me feel emotional just talking about it. But
Chills.
It was like I was protecting my sister from an industry that had previously hurt her. And I feel like I wish I had done more protecting before. And so I was like, okay, now this is my time to protect.
Right.
And then when I, obviously with her consent, but then when I let that guard down and was like, this is what's actually happening, I feel like I was really like pleasant, and she was obviously too, but really pleasantly surprised by, by the people, by the industry, by, people wanting to help.
That can be the really beautiful part of social media, I found, is an outpouring of love, and that is the part of social media that I wish was more widespread.
Yeah, because I didn't get that response when I posted the film photos. You know what I mean? Like there was a disconnect. Like
it's
people are like,
level.
People are like, what is this? Like what's actually going on? And then when you do share what's actually going on, whether it's me or it's like someone else we follow, I personally like really appreciate it.
And to the point where, coming back to this show, when we ask someone, how are you? What's the response? Good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yes.
So with this show, it's how are you really feeling beyond the good?
Right.
We are so conditioned to just say, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
But are you?
Right.
But are you? That's pushing it a bit deeper. Even in the people in my own life, I try to do that.
Yes. Yes.
It's so common to just brush it off. Yeah, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine.
Yes.
There's an element of protection in maybe guarding yourself and not going deeper, depending on who's asking. But
what I've learned is that people want to help,
more so than they don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And if people like, for whatever reason don't, they just don't say anything. You know what I mean? Like the people that want to help, like will make their voices heard and known and, give you so much comfort.
And those are the people you want to have in your corner.
Yes.
Like the people that are going to support you, good, bad, and ugly.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you found that your circle has gotten smaller over the years in terms of like real support?
No. I feel like it's been the same people, but it's grown. Like it's totally grown because like, just to be totally frank, but like I needed it. Yeah. Like I had people like show up and like, it was like during COVID. So they were like, hey, like put your laundry outside the door and like I'll do your laundry for you. Like people dropping off food, like people showed up for me in ways, because I guess like what you learn about sharing, like I didn't know how many people had experienced grief. Yeah. So they knew like what to do. Yeah. And then you learn the people that maybe don't know what to do as well,
I've found in my experience it's usually like a 50-50 split.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's usually like there's people who go into like action mode of like, I want to help, support, cook, clean, whatever you need.
Yes.
And then there's some people who are like, oh, I'll talk to you in a few weeks. Like,
oh my God.
You know what I'm talking about.
Of course I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, that's so bad though.
And I you know, as we were talking earlier, I try to give those people grace because they may not have directly experienced grief.
Right.
I was just listening to a podcast the other day and they were talking about how they had never lost a grandparent and they don't know what that experience of grief is like.
Wow.
Losing a grandparent is a very real thing, no matter what age you are.
Yes.
But if you've never experienced it, then yeah, you probably have a detachment to it.
Right.
It was just interesting.
And also, like, I've had people be like, oh, I lost my dog. I know how you feel. But I personally, like, I appreciate that. I really don't see, I know like a lot of people hate that.
You saw my face.
I know, I saw your face. But they are finding a connection to you.
They're trying, yeah. They're trying.
Yeah. Yeah, they're trying. Yeah, like.
And you gotta, that's what I'm saying. You gotta give them grace. As much as I made that face, you gotta give them grace.
Yes.
Because everyone's coming from a different perspective.
Yeah.
But they're
But
trying
also, we don't know their relationship with the dog. Like, I'm not trying to be crazy, but it's like, obviously, like, no relationship will compare to whatever relationship you've lost.
Yeah.
You know?
Have you lost a pet before?
I have.
Yeah. So you know that feeling.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I lost my dog and he's still my phone background 3 years later.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really, really intense bond.
Yeah.
You know? But I'm just saying, like, if we understand that, like, our relationship can't compare to anyone else's, because it can't. Like, no matter what. If we really understand that, like, someone sharing, like, their closeness to their dog and, like, it reminds them of how they felt, like, I'll take it. Like, I'll take anything. Like, I'm like.
Then nothing.
Well, it's just, like, someone's trying. Yeah. And, like, we don't always have the perfect right thing to say. Like, I love Dr. Brené Brown so much. And she talks about how, like, she brings up this particular story where she responded in a sort of off way. And her friend responded badly, like, to what she said. And 10 minutes later, she called up that friend and she was like, hey, I didn't say that the way I wanted to, and I'm really sorry. Okay, I actually have an example from the other night. Can I tell you?
Yeah, but I was loving the Brené example.
Okay. Well, it goes with the Brené.
I can talk about Brené all day.
Okay, well, what I'll say is what she said was, even if it's 10 minutes later, even if it's a week later, like, we're allowed to make mistakes. We are humans. We won't always know the right thing to say. There isn't necessarily anything to say. Can I swear on this podcast?
Of course you can swear.
Some of the best responses I've had to my sister's passing is, fuck. And I've been like, thank you. But that has honestly been most. Okay, can I tell you what happened the other night?
Yeah, I want to hear what happened the other night.
I was talking to my friend and I said, yeah, well, you know your dad. And I did quotation, your dad. And it is her actual dad. But I did quotation. And we, like, continued talking. And I went, oh my God, that was so inappropriate for me to do quotations. I was like, I just got so protective of how poorly he treated you that I just used quotations. It is your biological dad. I'm really sorry. And she was like, oh, I was like, I don't care at all. You know, but I was coming from a place of, like, so protective over her that I, like, did a quotations about her biological dad, you know? And it's like, I took a breath and I was like, whoa, like, I did that because I felt really protective, but no matter what, he's still your dad. And she was like, oh, I don't care. And she was like, I agree, but doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I was acting out of, like, my heart was too,
right.
Yeah, I was acting too fiery.
And I'm sure you're super comfortable with that person, that it was kind of just.
Yeah, she literally said I didn't even notice. And I was like, oh no, well, I just drew attention to.
But that takes a lot of self-awareness to even, for you to even, like, course correct and be like, oh, wait, right.
Yes, it is your
That's
biological
self-awareness.
dad. Yes, I know. We were protective of our friends.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't make me come across poorly, but
no,
it did happen.
It does not. And that, I don't look at that even as a mistake. It's just the general awareness in how we're conversating with people.
Yeah, and sometimes you can, like, slip up and be like, whoa, that was coming from a place of anger. Like, I was being way too defensive and you weren't coming from that place and I didn't need to go there, you know?
Even Brené Brown slips up, even though she's a perfect angel and I love her.
Are you saying I'm a perfect angel?
Yes.
I wasn't exactly saying that, but yeah.
Point is, we all make mistakes.
Yes.
And I think when we're talking to people and we're having those conversations, it's always, we talked about this earlier, like it's the intention behind it.
Right.
Like when people are giving you advice,
Yeah.
when people are acknowledging your grief,
Yeah.
like it is usually coming from good intentions.
Right. And by the way, a big thing that I've been learning just like these past few years is like not saying I'm sorry, but what I meant was, so like in that moment, I said, I'm sorry. He is your biological dad.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't need to do quotation marks, you know,
And leaving it at that.
And leaving it at that. And then when we spoke more, I was just like, I find myself like feeling so protective over what you experienced. And like, it pains me like for little you.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can have a conversation, but like separating them, you know, because it sounds like an excuse and you're not trying to make an excuse. Like you are sorry for, like, if you're really sorry for how it came across, you know, or not even how it came across, exactly what you did, then you say sorry.
And being okay with saying sorry, I think, is another layer of that. But that could probably be an entire other episode now that I think about it. Like, the level of apologies and introspection and
Yes.
all of that.
Yeah.
Bishop, I'm gonna wrap with one final question. And that is, what is one thing you've done this week today? It's a new month now. How are you taking care of yourself? How are you putting your mental health first?
Ooh. How am I taking care of myself? How am I putting my mental health first?
Yeah, a little self-check-in.
I had a work call all about mental health on the road.
Mm.
And can I say the name of the company?
Yeah, Torwell. I was like,
Okay. Oh my God. Okay. It was with this incredible company called Torwell. And they help with, basically mental health while you're a touring musician. And there are a lot of questions on there about like, what do you do to stay basically like steady on the road? Like, what are your eating habits like when you're on the road? What are your fitness habits like when you're on the road? And it was the first time that I'd really just sat and talked about self-care and the things, and being reminded of the things I used to do. When you become a mom, not for everyone, but for me, I really just, you go kind of into survival mode. So when you have time alone, you sleep. When you have time alone, you eat. Taking the time to meditate or write in a journal, these are things that really ground me. So just having that call, and it was just like a 30-minute call, really was something I did this week that was prioritizing my mental health. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Torwell.
Yeah. And I love that that's something you're pursuing and your team's pursuing.
Yeah.
I think more artists need that kind of energy in touring. And we're seeing so many artists like having to cancel for mental health reasons. Right. And it's just having that in place, yes, I think is really proactive. So yeah, incredible. Yeah. I love that.
Shout out to my manager.
Shout out, Sam. Sam getting all the shout outs on this episode. Yeah. That is a wrap. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. This was so fun.
Yes, I loved having you.
Oh my gosh.
Amazing.
I love being here, and I hope I didn't reveal too much about myself.
We could do a part 2. We could do a part 2.